Hello and welcome to Fulcrum 6.0, XLRI Jamshedpur's flagship consulting event. My name is Manasi Phatak and I'm a student of the PGDM General Management Program, batch of 2027. And I'm here today with Ms. Sharmistha Bagchi, who is a partner at IBM Consulting. Ms. Bagchi is a global technology and transformation leader with nearly 3 decades of experience across big global companies like IBM, PwC, Accenture, EY, and Capgemini, to name a few. She's led complex enterprise-wide programs across industries like banking, payments, telecom, media, and digital platforms across the globe. Her work spans digital and business transformation, AI and GenAI strategy, cloud transformation, data and analytics, and operating model change. She's known for bringing structure to complexity and translating strategy into practical execution and sustainable outcomes at scale. Ms. Bagchi, thank you so much for being here today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So before we start, I must say that, when I was told that I'm going to be hosting this podcast for you today, of course, I went through your profile and your years of industry experience was something that really stood out to me and inspired me. But one thing that really connected me to you was when I found out you're also from Mumbai, as am I.
So lovely, lovely.
So just to keep things light and before we start with the more serious questions, what's your favorite thing about Mumbai and how has your experience been in Jamshedpur and the XLRI campus so far been?
So while I love traveling and I love the whole world, because we are living in a very borderless world, it's a small world. But for me, Mumbai is where my heart belongs.
Truly.
And now the rains are there. So Mumbai rains and the people. And the most important thing, I believe there are no genders. I mean, for me, they are humans. But I think the safety that this city brings at any point of the time, any point of the day, any point of the night, that's what is really the most beautiful part of Mumbai.
Truly. And what about Jamshedpur? Is this your first
time? Oh, I loved
here?
it. I mean, I was quite surprised. I mean, I actually resonated it with Kerala because it's lush green and clean. So it was beautiful to see that the entire stretch from Ranchi to Jamshedpur is so green and so clean.
Truly.
Way to go for India.
Yeah, and I think I truly resonate with everything you said about Mumbai. That's where I grew up and truly love the city.
Yes.
And I think one thing that stands out about Mumbai is that, how much it's changed over so many years. It's very evident in the skyline if you just look out your window. And speaking of change, since you've been in the industry for so many decades now, you've had a front row seat in seeing how the industry has reinvented itself over so many years, right? So when you look over that arc, what's one shift that's surprised you the most, not necessarily in terms of the technology, but simply maybe in the way that we're doing things differently now as compared to maybe when you started your career?
Many changes has happened, but I think, in our way, the way we are resilient in terms of adapting to new things, that comes, I think, in the DNA of Indians, right?
True.
Exposed to the most extreme situations and able to unlearn and learn again and again. That's what I think really is remarkable. To the pointed question in terms of consulting, so I started my journey as a, those days, embedded engineer. We used to take pride in saying I'm doing more embedded, microprocessor programming, more than front end, and now you have the full stack. So those days it was deemed that everybody's full stack. There was no compartmentalization of technology, right? So when we started, and I started my career, into a product firm, which is basically into smart card technology, right? And there was for banking, for telecom, and OSS, BSS, everything. But the commonality in across what I see, whether it is media, telecom, banking, the ask or the pattern in terms of the ask by the client. Okay, there's a fundamental pattern requirement that they need, and if you are able to resonate with that, your problems will solve. I genuinely feel, with due respect, with our technology and the way we are transforming. Those days we had changes in technology over a period of 4 years, 5 years. You have now 4 months, 5 months. Things are changing. So to somebody in my team or in the, when I see the interns coming in, they say, I'm a front end. I take a strong view on that, because don't compartmentalize. You have to move, you have to change. Today you are needed to make LLM models. Tomorrow you would be need to substantiate on top of that with strategy. So product is the way. You have to understand customer first, and then you have to understand where you fall. So I think that shift from client servicing to client resonation is where, you just don't do servicing, you are part of the client supply chain. That's where it has changed.
Yeah, I think you've put it very well. And if I just had to summarize, I think it's not just the industry that's reinventing itself. We also have to reinvent ourselves.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I think that's
otherwise we
important.
Would be dated, no?
Yes,
we have started
truly.
a career in C++ and where are we today, right?
No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And so on those lines, so if there's some advice you could, give your younger self, maybe when you were just starting out your career, what's something you wish you knew, or it could be nothing, but just some information that you wish you had as someone starting.
My entire life regret is I didn't do an MBA.
Oh my God.
So 30 years into the industry, and it's so nice to feel the pulse of a classroom, but the amount the industry has taught me, and I would say my younger self or the future generation, I would just say that just don't limit yourself to what the academia is mandating you. You have to have an intellectual curiosity of double-clicking on every aspect. Why is somebody saying what? Do not just judge them.
True.
There must be a reason. Understand, because I have kids of your generation, and the judgment comes much early, but I'm equally awed by how, they are in terms of how they are holding up things. But at the same time, we must enable ourselves to learn further and further.
Very true, ma'am. And talking about an MBA, we're sitting in a B school right now. So I think today's India, just people in general, everyone wants to move into consulting roles, leadership roles. And I feel like an MBA has always been very popular, but it's also gaining a lot of traction now.
Correct.
And in India, we have the 2-year MBAs, which are definitely, well known and recognized. But the 1-year programs are something that have also been gaining a lot of traction.
Yeah.
So as a student of a 1-year MBA program, and you being here with all of us here today, what are your thoughts on a 1-year program in general?
I think it's fantastic, and I'm also seeing the kind of experience that you all are bringing on the table, because, the fact that the students are 3 years to 7 years working in absolute big fours or the consulting world, it's really good that they're bringing that experience, and then they will be able to unlearn and learn as well. So they'll not just restrict themselves to the academia, they will also be exposed to the industry way of working. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think one thing that I really like about the 1-year program is that because we all have, 3+ years of experience,
exactly,
the kind of discussions that we have in class are very mature, and
correct,
since everyone's from different industries here, it really gives us a perspective on, what's going on where. I think we're also limited in our mind views. I mean, me personally, coming from an IT background, never really interacted with someone from a manufacturing or maybe like a chemical industry.
Correct.
It's really interesting to see that, as opposed to freshers. Of course, they bring in their own perspective as well. But
so if you see global overseas, you'll have all the management, unis mandating that you have to have a 2 to 3 years experience.
Correct, yeah.
And if that is mandated in India, it's self-sufficient.
That's so refreshing to hear. But I think moving on into, since you worked in the financial services and telecom industry, right? These are industries that are typically, heavily defined by regulation.
Correct.
So does this heavy regulation make generative AI adoption harder, or does it actually force you to make, better solutions from the start?
So I'll tell you, GenAI is primarily to automate or create certain undifferentiated tasks, the repeated tasks, in a more faster or a productive manner.
Correct.
There possibly now, for example, in banking, you have certain regulatory asks, and that is mandated to across the platform. However, there is a tech debt that the organization have, the operational readiness, or even for that matter, the fraud risk that the current bank would have is very different than other banks. So even when they give you a regulatory mandate, first of all, the data that we are talking about, the data security, you cannot be exposing those on the platforms for creating absolute ALM models, because they are completely playing with your PII data, which we call as a personal information data, right? And that is very critical. But when it comes to customer onboarding, there could be certain journeys that could be created. When it comes to even regulatory management for registrations for in terms of telecom, there could be certain IPs that could be created. So to make your task faster, yes, but not the whole journey itself. To a certain point, yes.
Yeah, I think you've put it really well. And I think also with AI, right, I think, whether somebody understands how AI really works or doesn't, what people really think about AI is that, oh, it's helping you do things faster. So from a consulting standpoint, have you seen that, clients are now expecting you to deliver things faster simply because you're leveraging AI? And does that, hasten the process in which you're maybe not delivering, you're delivering things in haste? Is that like an unrealistic expectation? Have you seen this happen in terms of your
So
clients?
I'll be honest, not really, because what the clients definitely want is the repeated task to have a pattern to that.
Correct.
That definitely they want some productivity, which means that organizations, consulting firms themselves need to take cognizance of the productivity that they bring on the table, right? When we are talking about so for example, in consulting firms, right, they would be having a lot of activities that they have done. They have done retail, they have done manufacturing, loads of the preliminary task is already done, but it's not consolidated, and there is no consensus about taking that knowledge back to the client, right?
Correct.
So that mandates that you need to bring a regulatory there, you need to bring a pattern there, and talk about the productivity hours much more optimal way. That for sure. But client, in terms of asking, they are like, okay, fine, let me see the POC.
Okay.
And if I see a good visible POC, I'm okay that you automate things that will be more repeated.
Correct.
That is fine. But the demand from the client to do a faster thing is always there.
I think, that is
true.
Always that is very true. And like you said, right, I think the expectation that clients have, or what we are really trying to do here, is automating repetitive tasks.
Correct.
But I feel like that's something that mostly we've already achieved, or maybe we're still achieving, maybe in terms of some new things that are there. But when you talk about like using AI or AI adoption, sometimes it requires an entire workflow to be re-architected rather than simply slapping AI onto an existing solution, because sometimes it may not work as is.
Correct.
So how do you deal with that, wherein maybe you have clients who come in and they just want a AI layer added to something that they already have, wherein you could rather just re-architect the whole thing and provide a better solution. So how do you manage those expectations when it comes to dealing with such clients?
You may actually be surprised that while the clients are asking certain AI part, I'll tell you from a consulting point of view, consultants were supposed to do the preliminary market research, analysis, and all the early tasks at what they call the grunt job, right?
Correct.
Those have got automated, which means that now it's not about only what you bring on the table as expertise. If you are not accountable for the outcome of that expertise, then don't get me the expertise.
Correct.
So then at the same time, when we're talking about these small AI based plug and play modules, which we have to do on top of what exists, the client is very cognizant about how will it correlate into a relay of their legacy systems, what we attach and what the outcome is. And that they want to have a control on, for sure, because tomorrow when they have to do the operations part of it, if that is going to be automated and not going to take that factor, then there is a problem.
Very true.
So it's not just, you can't, like for somebody just said RPA, blockchain, these are all there.
Yeah.
But we don't get ourselves intimidated by these terms, because end of the day, they have to make sense at the value outcome of the whole chain, right?
Correct.
So that is it.
I think the overall perspective is what matters more than how we're doing it. The
Yeah,
value add
absolutely.
is what is truly most important. And I think when we talk about AI, there are some concerns that people have, right? There's AI hallucination. You spoke about data privacy and bias, right? So what out of these three, or maybe any other asset that I've not considered, what do you think is something that organizations don't consider immediately? Like maybe AI hallucination. How are we, making sure that the system or the solution that we're providing is truly reliant? Because AI hallucination will always be there. And so how do you deal with that?
So firstly, like I said, the repeated task, while there are models to do that, but you have to create the human value out of that, because at the end of the day, if those particular modules or whatever we are talking about, in terms of AI hallucinations and these terminology, they put me off completely. But at the same time, if they are not bringing any outcome, to their system or to their productivity, I don't think even clients are even looking at those kind of models. Clients are also very realistic that don't just say AI for the sake of it. Get a value. So, for example, in customer onboarding, in banking, customer onboarding, there are various channels. Are you creating a microservices based architecture where I can reuse everything at the back end and only at the front end things change? We say yes, but at the same time, there are channel-based limitations, there are channel-based security. There are some things that you cannot allow in a mobile, which is allowed in an internet banking. There are some things that you are allowed into the branch or rather an open web channel. So one has to factor the differentiation factors and then only put into the model. So it cannot be off the plate that you just plug and play and apply it all. Otherwise, then you cannot create a different. Otherwise, all the banks will do the same thing.
Correct.
If you create the same model, right?
I think with the whole plug and play models that have come into picture, I think if someone who doesn't really understand the nuances of it thinks it's very easy to just plug it in and what's the big deal in adding AI, anyone can do it. At least that's what the perception has become in general. So, but no, that's very nice to know. And again, talking around maybe a little bit more on the trust and transparency side of things, right? So one of the major concerns again is explainability. That if your AI solution is generating some suggestion, it's hard to explain that reasoning to a client, right? Like your model is generating it based on its own computation. But when you're really questioning where that output came from, and let's say you've leveraged that recommendation into something and it has not worked out, who is really accountable for that? Because you cannot blame an AI model for it, right? So how do you deal with those situations?
I'll tell you, first thing first, I'll tell you what we did for that matter is that these modelings and all, we customized it right from the beginning, right from the onset. And I'm saying that, I mean, at the time when we're creating the business requirements, when we're creating the functional requirements, when the test cases are written, that is also fed in. So you have to, but then that is that particular bank's IP property. You cannot be leveraging this property into some other bank. And when we are doing the AI modeling, when we are talking about it, we need to do it right at the beginning, just to leverage our productivity. You can do that for the small jobs, for example, a test case generation. But for really a strategy part of it, you have to have a lot more human depth going into it. So
I think that people layer is not something that can be replaced.
Absolutely
regardless
not. No, it cannot. The people, the expertise and the client themselves, there is legacy, right?
Of course.
So you can't remove that.
Of course. And another thing, so I read this somewhere, it's that, there's a perception that innovation requires complexity. But oftentimes simply adding complexity doesn't mean that you're adding value to a system. And, ultimately what we're trying to do is add value. So along those lines, when clients may have this expectation that everyone's on the AI bandwagon and so even I want it. How do you push back when the innovative solution is just a very complicated one unnecessarily? How do you deal with that?
You're right, because there are, when we enter the clients and they do have existing complicated systems. So I would say, unless you do not, you do not play the game of demonstrating value to the client by unlearning those complex modules into smaller ones and showing them the output, smaller ones, and make them a part of the journey, that's when they are onboarded. You cannot bring a massively complicated solution and architect it and then say that this is the outcome, because at the end of the day, you are creating something that you have to give it to the client. And they have to own it. So you have to make them embark on that journey right at the beginning.
Very true. Very true. And I think we already touched upon this, but consulting delivery has been very people intensive. So what have you seen changing in terms of the delivery model itself? Are we looking at fundamentally smaller teams or differently skilled ones? Like how have teams changed in terms of skill sets compared to maybe a decade back and compared to where we are now with the advent of AI? How are we leveraging AI into our existing processes or reinventing them?
So earlier, like I said, we had very specific, you have the consulting team, you have the entire implementation team, and then you have the operations team, right? Um, I would say today, those demarcations are diminishing, right? A consultant will not be able to bring value till they understand the entire product roadmap. A technical team, a implementation team will not be able to leverage a implementation cycle without understanding the purpose of that, which the consultant brings. And if it has to be handed over to the operations teams, will not be able to understand going forward, how do I maintain that, right? So I think the margins are diminishing and everybody is embarked on that journey of the client end to end. That is what it has to be. You cannot anymore compartmentalize, which is beautiful.
Very true.
Right.
And what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that you face when, driving like a digital transformation in terms of AI for any big enterprise where there are legacy systems, complicated systems like you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So what is a big challenge that you see?
The biggest challenge that I feel is the adaptability of that to a newer system by by our clients themselves. But you see, even the clients are embarking on that journey now. So the clients are also onboarded. It takes time. One is that, and the tech debt that we have, that the legacy systems bring with that. So not necessarily what has been happening is generally right, or even it can be categorized as wrong. We have to find an outcome where it doesn't disrupt your business.
Very true.
Right? So business has to be seamless, customer experience has to be seamless, and you can do better things to improve your operational excellence, get more productivity, get more value. At the end of the day, customer value is what the client also is embarked on. Right?
True.
That is what you should have the objective.
Speaking of customer experience, what are some use cases that you've seen for AI that have actually enhanced customer experience, maybe in your org, or what you may have heard of or read? Because I feel like that is what is really driving the value for any enterprise or organization.
So
right?
I'll tell you, I'm talking about when I started with media, and that's a place where you are directly interacting with the customer very instantly, right? You have other, you have telecom also, you have media and BFSI, and you enter into a product. There is a product life cycle. In media, we do it instantly, right? Instant gratification of you have a customer recommendation, you skip your ads, and there are many other use cases. So in I see the biggest challenge over here being how well are we capturing those requirements at the earliest, able to envisage those as a customer, and able to bring it out as a next feature release or whatever. So I think, and the way, and we are a large economy, the largest economy, and the feedback, or rather response, was overwhelming when we did. We launched the first Netflix kind of app in India. So without naming it, it was the response was very overwhelming. And in those days, we started with a single MVP app. Then instantly we needed to get onto an iPad and different devices, responsive, customer-based recommendation. So if a person is seeing a particular content in the southern of India, vis-a-vis northeast of India, how would the ad languages be? What are the products that are going to be, put it in the ads? How would those product life cycles be managed? So it's very interesting. And how does technology just play a role into creating this? In fact, I've always seen my technical team wanting to do that part and the business team wanting to do this part.
Yeah.
So I have always considered, just cross-skill yourself. It's
and
okay.
Yeah, totally. I think cross-skilling is something that's of utmost importance.
Absolutely. So then you don't be, you yourself feel that you are a part of every journey, and you feel significant. You bring relevance on the table, right?
Yeah, very true. So I think you brought out some really good points, ma'am. And I think just moving on to the people side of things, like we said, cross-skilling and all of that. So speaking about you've led teams. So let's say just a hypothetical scenario. Let's say you have two consultants on your team, and one is using GenAI tools and delivers a deck or a presentation in like 2 hours flat. But there you have another person who takes a full day to actually understand the requirements, go through it, dig deeper, and then deliver something, taking a bit more time. Now, the problem here is, as a delivery leader, who do you reward? And how do you tell the difference between both outputs? Because one was faster, one was slower, but the output in the end might have been more or less the same. But what do you truly value? Because I know we're all talking about leveraging AI in what we do, but it's also, I feel, in some way or the other, reducing our ability to think and
Absolutely.
create new ideas.
Spot on. People are even going to AI for simple WhatsApp responses.
Yes.
So, it's really, you're just draining off your ability to think.
Mhm.
Creative, the human touch of
Yes.
creativity and the differentiated matters are completely ceasing to exist. But, I would say in this particular scenario, what you're giving me, again, the outcome, and I would see the consultant whose deck is more relevant and having all the relevant data points specific to this particular client, I would go with that. Because end of the day, if that is not leveraged with what I want really from this particular client, it doesn't make for me a generic deck, doesn't make absolutely any sense. But yes, appreciating the grunt job to be automated faster, and then adding onto that the specific customization of this particular client, that would make sense. Yeah.
So I think it's about, of course, leveraging.
We are talking about an era where we belong to an era where we didn't even have any information at our fingertips, right? We had to walk to all the libraries,
Yes.
okay? Starting from your Asiatic library, we had
Of
to walk
course.
everywhere and go through, loads of books,
Yeah.
understand what we want, and then come to a conclusion. So the ability to question and have a curiosity should always be there. Otherwise, then you're leveraging your ability as a human being with brain power to AI, right?
Yeah, no, very true. I think, if I'm being very honest, when I was, planning for this podcast as well, my first instinct was, let's put it through Claude and let's see what Claude tells me to write. But that's when I realized that, this is very generic output. I don't know if this is really adding value, because a lot of times the questions that, at least what Claude gave me, looked different, but they all meant more or less the same thing. And that's when I felt that, you do need a human layer to refine judgment, to decide what goes and not. Because it's very easy for an AI to, if I tell it, give me 100 questions, it will generate 100.
And then where is your learning curve?
Yeah.
I mean, you're completely destroying the ability to ask the most fundamental silly questions.
Yes.
But that is where you learn, right?
Yeah.
And if you are expected to, know everything and give those refined statements, you're completely killing yourself of your ability to be curious and to ask those questions.
Very true, very true. I think we need to bring our childlike curiosity
absolutely
back.
Yeah. If you can put that into the AI model, great.
I think we shouldn't, right? That's at least something that we should do.
Correct.
But yeah, I think that's also there. And yeah, just coming to, future of leadership. So, as AI is taking over more of the analytical and execution grunt work, I would say, what does leadership in consulting actually look like maybe 5 or 10 years down the line? And do the core principles more or less stay the same? And does the role of a consulting leader, fundamentally change or remain the same?
So, like I said, I'll just repeat myself, it has definitely moved from bringing expertise to be accountable for your outcomes and values. So, it's not just getting an expertise and giving you the most refined form of how your strategy would be. If you're not able to break it in the smallest component of the complex ask and be aligned on that outcome. I'll give you a classic example. If I don't want to also get you lost between all this high-flying jargons. I want to tell you, for example, in banking, right? Customer onboarding. In the customer onboarding, what has been the typical for a liability customer, which means savings account, current account, or for a lending account, what has been the speed to go ahead and get an approval, right? What has been the blocking factors for that particular client? And where did those fail? Was that because of the regulatory declines? Was it a technical decline? How can we make it more customer friendly? Is there a way that the standard, the loan lending centers, which is the RAC and all, will they be intervening and making this faster to the customer? So on and so forth. So you have to define that very clearly, and that's when you're associating yourself with a value. not
Very
just a
true.
strategy, right? Yeah.
Very true. I think you've put it really well, and thank you for that. And yeah, I think based on whatever we've discussed so far, we've spoken about how the industry has reinvented itself, the people, the talent, the technology, all of that. But if you had to bet on one thing that will never change about this industry, no matter how advanced the technology gets, what would you think that is? Of course, there's the people layer. But
no, I think the fundamental need to align yourself with the patterns of the client ask. That will never change, right? The client has an ask, understand why, what they are interested in, and how you can bring it on the table. So if you can align with that, that means curiosity, basically.
Very true.
Curiosity. And
so truly that there is no AI layer that can, bridge that gap, because I feel like there has to be a human layer, because I feel there are a lot of things that we as humans pick up, cues and all of that, and AI, no matter how sophisticated it gets, I don't think that's something that it will take over. At least I hope it doesn't.
But the good part, what I'm seeing in clients also, erstwhile the clients used to take its own time to even get on to new changes. But I think the change management, transformation, clients are also open, right?
Very true.
So it's fantastic, phenomenal. And the way we are growing is phenomenal.
Yeah. But I think it's also very hard to predict where we are going to be, a decade from now, because nobody anticipated.
Just play each day as it comes,
Yeah.
Take each day as it comes, make the maximum out of it, learn every day something new, and bring something new on the table.
Very true. Very true. Thank you for that. Yeah. That's a very nice way to end it. And I think one last question that I had for you is that, as an MBA student like myself, let's just say it's me. If I come up to you and I say that, hey, I want to be where you are in a couple of years, I want to be in consulting, what's some advice you'd have for me? Or something that I could start doing right now as a 26-year-old?
So I would say take 3 sectors primarily and understand what their trend has been in the last 5 to 10 years and where they need to go. What is it that they would do for higher outcome or higher values, along with sustainability, because that is definitely the ask of the next gen. So yes, so you have to take the 3 different sectors and understand that as a domain, deep from where they were, where it should go to. I would definitely say that.
Thank you so much for that advice. And I think we'll just have a quick rapid fire round if you're open to it. It's just 4 to 5 questions. Just answer in one word to one line. First thing that comes at the top of your head.
Okay.
So very simple, just to keep things light. So are you team ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude? Or any other
combination of different purpose for different things. Yeah.
So which one do you feel gives you the which one is your usual go-to that hey, I need to check this?
Combination of Claude and GPT. Yeah.
I think that's where
the pro version,
headed.
But yeah.
Nice to know. And if I may, what's like a very unexpected use case you've had for AI? Maybe outside of work, but just something fun that you never thought you'd really use an AI for, but you did.
I'll tell you, I'm a foodie. So, because, when I want recommendations and you have apps, they also have associated branded view over there. So, I go for, and who will go through Google and go on. So, I make it a little more small. I am over here and I need this particular cuisine and I have gone over these and I like these. So, they are quick in recommending. So,
that is definitely everything. I've done something similar with travel. I think you also mentioned you love to travel. So like building like a travel itinerary.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I, in fact, give the instruction, go to the most, unique places and not the standard, resorts or the place which is untouristy. Let me know on that. So, sometimes it's good. The recommendations are right.
Yeah, I think we still have to, vouch for, the hotel's good enough. Is the plan too hectic? I think we still have to do that. But like, I was planning a trip and it's when I realized, wow, this is so much easier than me going through 100 different sites trying to figure out. But Okay, next question. What do you think is Gen AI's biggest strength and its biggest risk in one word or one line?
Strength is definitely data. I would say weakness is immature data, right? From non-customized data.
True.
So yes, so human touch is important. Yeah.
True. And I think data is gold. And I think in one of the other panels, I just heard this line that, even outliers in data are very important.
Extremely.
So I really
those are the
resonated.
ones that make it more customized.
Yeah, truly. Because the outliers are where you kind of figure out where what you're not focusing on.
Correct.
It could definitely be noise.
And that is what differentiates, right? Every
yes,
client. Yeah.
Yes, very true. Okay, again, now what AI tool can you not work without these days?
I'm not yet such a slave of the AI but
that is good to know.
Yeah, but the grunt jobs I definitely give it, and see, I'll tell you what, for example, I'm part of with IBM Consulting, and IBM has Watson, but IBM also creates with the backbone of Watson, there are a lot of other customized AI tools that we are creating specific to clients, specific to industries, right? Which we can leverage for the sake of our own team's productivity. So we are doing that.
Of course, that's great to know.
Yeah.
And
because if they are templatized already, why reinvent, right?
Of course, definitely. Yeah. Another small one, like Excel or ChatGPT, what scares consultants more? Because consultants do use a lot of Excel sheets. So what's something?
So we are from a generation where we know every formula, even coding in Excel. So I understand the entire SQL coding behind every macro that goes. So we by default used to generate macros over there, and ChatGPT gives you that. But I think consultants shouldn't be having GPT as a go-to, right? True. They should definitely understand, and I'm not saying even Excel is their go-to, but you have to analyze your data. You have to understand and read the pattern of the data rather than if somebody else, then you're not learning, right?
Of course. Yeah. It's very true. And last one for you is prompt engineering. Do you think it's a real skill or is it just an overrated buzzword?
It is a skill, yet a WIP, I would say. It's a WIP skill, yeah.
That was very well put. But yeah, I think we are towards the end of this. So, ma'am, I would really like to thank you so much for this conversation. We've covered so much ground. We spoke about how the industry is reinventing itself. We spoke about how we need to reinvent ourselves to stay relevant. And, how GenAI is changing delivery, how we need to be customer first. And we even discussed what it means to just lead a team of consultants. But if I had to take something away from our conversation, like I mentioned earlier, I think it definitely has to be that humans can never be replaced. We will always be there. We have to understand customer requirements specific to consulting, and that part, that human touch, is not something that's going to go away soon,
absolutely,
maybe ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you again so much
pleasure.
For being generous with your time, your honesty, and your candid responses. This was genuinely a lot of fun, and I hope whoever's watching this later will also gain some insights
absolutely.
Out of this.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah,
you made it very comfortable, and it didn't seem to be a poised questioning.
Yeah,
very nicely.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye-bye.